What's up, what's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, and welcome in to my 2.0, my NFL mock draft 2.0 for the 2023 NFL draft. Remember, as always, if you like today's video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you love it, hit the subscribe button, and remember to ring the bell down below to stay notified with everything going on here at MVP. Before we get into the draft, I do have to go through some disclaimers here at the beginning. Number one, some of you may be noticing, Ricky, the beginning of the draft solidified order, but the playoff teams, we've already seen the first round of the playoffs. That order is different than what's on your mock. So I'm recording this on July 12th right now. The regular season has ended. We have yet to get the first round. The super wild card weekend has yet to happen in the universe where I am recording this. Most of you are going to see this. I believe the date would be the 21st. However, our plus members or our plus patrons, they get to see it first. So if you want to get our future content a week early before everyone else, go ahead, check out, either become a plus member on the YouTube page or go to our Patreon page, become a plus member. My mock drafts, patrons and plus members get to see it a week early before everyone else. So little small caveat, I know that a little bit of the order might be changed, but it's not that big of a deal for right now. Number two, this is going to be my last mock draft that does not include trades. After some thinking it over, consulting with some of the friends that I have in the mock draft community, I decided, hey, you know what? No trades for this one. Let's see what each team is going through now that we have the order solidified. Starting my next mock draft is when I will have trades and the real cacophony and chaos can begin with the mock draft. So just a little disclaimers. Remember, as always, let me know what you guys think down below about any of the picks for your team, not your team. I know Lions fans, you had some opinions for me last time. I hope that this one's a little bit better for you, that I don't anger the Detroit Lions fan base. But without further ado, let's get into this. And number one, we got the Bears, the first overall pick. Not only the first overall pick, but the first time in the Bears history that they will be the number one pick in the NFL draft. I don't know if that's probably a good thing that this has been the first number one pick. I mean, I know the Bears have been top 5 before, have been top 3 before, but like, usually when a team doesn't have a first round pick, that means overall your franchise has been doing pretty good, right? But the Bears as of late, not that great, trying to be on the upcline, not the decline. But the Bears have a decision, and I do want to say there's a lot of talk from all the media heads out there that the Bears should trade Justin Fields. They need to trade Justin Fields. Here's what the Bears need to think, or need to choose, basically. They need to decide what their timeline is. Because if their timeline is we can get this team competing sooner, then keep Justin Fields, trade this pick to like the Colts or the team that's rumored to be really heavy on it. Do what the Niners did. Get some picks, let a quarterback hungry team move up, bada bing, bada boom. Justin Fields, I know that some people have said, well, could you get the number 4 pick for Justin Fields and then you can have 1 and 4? I don't think you're getting a top 5 pick for Justin Fields. And I don't know. Here's the thing. If Bears fan base is not sold on Justin Fields, why should another fan base be sold on him? That's the only thing I think of with a Justin Fields trade. I'm not a Justin Fields hater. I actually like Justin Fields. But like, if you're down on him and you don't think he's a future, then how is he going to help me right now? So that's the little nuggets I have about Justin Fields and them trading him. I honestly think this pick gets traded. A quarterback hungry team will move up, but because there's no trades here, Bears are just going to take the best player in the draft right now. I know that some people have Jalen Carter up there. Others have Will Anderson. I'm going Will Anderson. Like I've always said, the 2 most important things to make a successful team, edge rushing and a quarterback. You got your quarterback, get the edge rusher, get Will Anderson Jr. There you go. You're setting it up for the future. Then we get to the Texans, and I know that the last mock draft that I did, I was like, oh, no question. They were the number one pick at the time. No question, it's going to be a quarterback. So I know a lot of you are probably like, oh, Ricky, Bryce Young is the pick here, right? He's the pick here, right? I don't know. And yet again, Texan fans kind of talk through this with me in the comment section. The Texans are going to have to decide which to me, the Texans are not, they're not scouting just for this class. They are scouting next year also, because I don't think that Bryce Young or CJ Stroud comes in and makes the Texans immediately better. I don't even know if he yet again, they have Dougie Davis Mills. I want to say 2 more years. Let's see what my notes says. Yeah, he's under contract for 2 more years. I know that Dougie Davis Mills is not your solidified guy. He's not like the one that it's like, hey, this is the quarterback of the future. But the Texans have some wiggle room here. If they love Bryce Young, if they love CJ Stroud, take them here. Take them here, especially if they're available. But next year, and yet again, you're playing a risky game. You don't know what pick you're going to get. You don't know what's going to happen next college season. Caleb Williams is probably most likely going to be the number 1 quarterback prospect for next year. He's probably going to be the number 1. He's most likely going to be QB1 when we get to the draft. I know there's a lot of time between now and then. But they got to decide, can we wait off on that and go somewhere else here? So for this one, Texan fans, don't be mad at me. I'm looking at this going, we don't need to take a quarterback right now. We're not a team that's like quarterback or die. I'm just going to go straight BPA, and I'm just going to go Jalen Carter. Let's get someone in the middle of this D-line that can also pass rush from the middle. Yet again, I'm probably going to flip-flop on this when we get to the 3.0. Also, we'll see if a quarterback in the next one's even available at number 3. Obviously, one of them will, but I don't know. I just feel like the Texans, they got some things to think about. Also, it depends on what coach they bring in, what goes on with that team. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, then number 3, we have the Arizona Cardinals. And this one, yet again, kind of easy for me. Yet, like, in an obvious world, if Bryce Young or CJ Stroud is there, maybe a team trades up for a quarterback. But this one, yet again, no trades. I'm going with Tyree Wilson. And for me, the reason why is, first off, their biggest need is edge rusher, so why not take that right here at number 3? You guys are going to hear this more in depth when I do my prospect videos, but as I've been doing research on some of these guys, Myles Murphy, I am not completely sold on right now. I've been underwhelmed watching his draft film. So to me, I have Tyree Wilson over a Myles Murphy. So that's why, yet again, you're going edge rusher. I know some people have Myles Murphy ranked above Wilson. I don't right now. I'm underwhelmed by Myles. So that's why Wilson goes to the Cardinals instead of Myles Murphy. Then we get to the Colts, and the Colts are the simplest pick here. Take your quarterback. Which one do you want? I'm going to go with right now the consensus number 1, and that's Bryce Young. Will say quarterbacks I haven't dove into head first yet. I will definitely be deciding one of these guys 1, one of them 2, but either one's solid. I got the Colts going with Bryce Young right now. Just kind of consensus number 1. You're going to take a quarterback, but most likely in the future, you're going to be trading up for that quarterback. Then you get to Seattle, and I mean, even though it's not, I wouldn't say it's a top need because Geno played good. You can re-sign Geno, but because of that uncertainty of if Geno Smith is going to re-sign, even if he does, if I'm the Seahawks here and CJ Stroud is here, I draft him. And the reason why is, even if I sign Geno Smith to a 2-3 year deal, CJ Stroud doesn't have to come in right away. He can sit a year. He can sit 2 years. I know that many people are going to be like, well, my top 5 pick, I don't want sitting for 2 years. You can still draft a quarterback after re-signing Geno Smith, knowing, hey, we don't have to rush this kid out there. So, like, if he's there at the number 5 pick for the Seahawks, I go ahead and take him because that's BPA and it could set your team up for the future, especially the year after, or 2 years now after, you've traded Russell Wilson. Then we get to the Lions, and Lions fans rejoice. I heard numerous comments of, why do you have the Lions taking a quarterback? The Lions took a quarterback. That voice sounds condescending. It doesn't mean to be. I get it. Bad team, take a quarterback. You've heard it a million years. You've probably heard it your entire life as a, I almost said Dolphins fan. Probably as a Dolphins fan too. But you've heard it your entire life as a Lions fan, depending on how old you are. Even might not even depend on age. You've just heard that your entire life as a Lions fan. However, both of the top 2 quarterbacks are off the board. No CJ Stroud for you to take here. Now, I know I could have you go Will Levis, but I'm not having the Lions do that this time. Instead, I'm having you take a guy that most people have as a top 5 prospect. Like I said, I've been underwhelmed with him. I have you guys going with Myles Murphy. And the reason why is I kind of thought about it. And it's like, okay, Myles Murphy is not a bad prospect. I want to get that out of the way. When I say underwhelmed, I don't mean he's bad. I just mean when it comes to, here's my problem with Myles Murphy. When I was watching his film, there was so many times I was like, why are you not getting by this offensive lineman? Why is it that a top 5 draft pick or top 5 projected pick is not getting by offensive linemen? And I know it's impossible to get by them every time, but when you're a top 5 pick, I should see offensive linemen having problems with you. For the most part, he's pushed guys back, but I never saw it to where it's like, oh, he's just dominating the game. Well, with the Lions, he doesn't have to dominate the game. You got Hutch to do that. So with all the focus being on Hutch, maybe that opens up some opportunities for Myles Murphy to do what he does. And plus, if he's going to be a guy that comes in, interviews are going to be important here. But if he comes in, has the attitude that the Lions want, he could fit with the Lions and maybe have some success with all the attention being elsewhere with Hutch on that defensive pass rush. So Myles Murphy, to me, I think Lions could be actually a really good fit for him. Then we have the Raiders, and I have the Raiders going with some, for them, like it's like last time. You're either going an edge or you're going D-line help. That's your top need. Well, you got Myles Murphy's teammate, Brian Breeze, right there. That's who the Raiders go with. Hopefully an edge rusher or Brian Breeze, because he's the top D lineman that's going to be available. I know Jalen Carter is going to be off the board. Jalen Carter goes probably 1, 2. If he falls, goes to 3. But yeah, for me, it's top D-line, top edge. That's what you take, how you do and keep her moving kind of a thing for the Raiders. Then we get to Atlanta, and I know some people in Atlanta might be like, quarterback. Yeah, Desmond Ridder. Let's see what the Riddler can do in Atlanta. Let's give him a full year, see what he can do with the Falcons. I mean, edge rush here, you don't really have, like, all the top edge rushers are off the board. So for me, I just say, hey, you know what? I know in some people's minds, like, you're looking here, mock draft database, they've got him as 9. I've seen him as low as 12. I've seen him a little lower. Depends on how much you love or like him. But I got you going with Kaylee Ringo out of Georgia. Just, hey, you know what? Let's just take the top cornerback on the board. Let's move along. Beef up that defense, whether it's a edge rusher or a cornerback. Then we get to the Panthers, and this is probably going to be the Will Levis slot for the entire time. Like, for me, this is probably where Will Levis is going to solidify himself, because I don't know how the Panthers could not take a quarterback here. Like, even if, let's say, Will Levis was gone by this point, I think Anthony Richardson would be a reach. I don't even know if Anthony Richardson is a for sure first rounder. He'll probably go in the first round because teams like to get that extra year, that extra option on quarterbacks, but I don't even know if he goes first round. Will Levis, to me, I think he's slotted in to be a Panther. Like, I don't know. Darnold's a free agent. You already released Baker. I know they drafted Matt Corral, who's still under contract, obviously, but it's going to be interesting to see what the Panthers do in free agency, how they tackle the quarterback position. I think that Will Levis is a guy that, yes, he had a down year. Yes, Kentucky had a down year, but when I was watching his tape before the year, you guys can go back, it's on my Twitter, I said that I could see him being the number one pick in the draft, although that didn't manifest because Kentucky had a bad year, Levis had a down year. I think the ingredients are there. It's just, can the Panthers be the one to develop him? That will be the true question. But Panthers quarterback, I think it's an easy choice. Then we get to the Eagles, and I think the Eagles, well, not the Eagles, but the Saints kind of screwed the Eagles here by winning some games down the stretch, because the Eagles were in a prime position to be a top 5 pick. Now they're sitting here with the 10th overall pick, and I got you guys going. Before in the last one, I had you going Myles Murphy. Cool, you get the edge rusher. You get your number one need here, and yet again, in some people's minds, here's another thing of how prospects are different. You're looking here, mock draft database. They got Christian Gonzalez above Joey Porter Jr. I'm the opposite. I have Joey Porter Jr. above Christian Gonzalez. I got the Eagles going with Joey Porter Jr., bringing him in. It's also kind of like a cross thing of like, I know that daddy played for Pittsburgh, but it's like, hey, your dad played for Pittsburgh. You're playing for the other Pennsylvanian team. You're going to be an Eagle. Plus, you're getting your number one need and a solid kid. Went to Penn State, gets to play in Philadelphia, gets to stay within the state of Pennsylvania. I think, personally, a solid pick for the Eagles at 10. Then you get to the Titans, and for Tennessee, you've either got a choice here. Do you go with offensive tackle or do you go with wide receiver? And this is my that's the question I want to ask for Titan fans. What do you go with? Are you going to give Malik Willis a weapon to throw to? Because at this spot in the mock draft, you've got your pick of the litter here. You've got all 3 top wide receivers are available. You got Johnson, Addison, Smith, and Jigba, even though it'll probably be Johnson and Addison. Smith and Jigba is just third. But you also have Paris Johnson Jr. and Peter Skoronsky from Northwestern. So for me, the question for Titan fans in this situation, are you going for Malik Willis weapon, Malik Willis protection? When it comes to me, let's see what my notes have. Yeah, I'm going protection over receiver. Like, sometimes I like to check my notes because I put in there whether like there's key free agents or stuff that I want to get right. But yeah, this was just a simple, hey, go protection over wide receiver. I honestly, right now at this point, like Skoronsky more. So I'm going to go with Peter Skoronsky from Northwestern for the Titans. But yeah, Tennessee fans, let me know. Are you going protection? You going weapon? Or are you going something else and I'm completely off on both counts? Then we get to the 12th overall pick, and we have the Houston Texans back on the clock. And for me, this is one where last time I was like, oh, quarterback, wide receiver, perfect. This one, okay, you're going with the second best or top, depending on who you are. Some people have him ranked higher than Will Anderson. Some have him number 2 behind Will Anderson. But regardless, top 2 defensive prospect in the draft. You got him at the 2nd overall pick. I think the wide receiver position's kind of volatile for the Texans. Now, you could bring in a head coach, could change Brandon Cook's mind, make him a rah-rah guy, or he could still want out and you could trade him this next season. I don't think he's going to want to be there. I think Houston's in for the long haul. So I'm going Story here. Not only is he the top wide receiver, he's a kid that went to college in Texas. He's from Temple, Texas. Quentin Johnson, you get to play for the Texans. You were born in Texas, you played college in Texas, and now you get to be a Texan. You're a Texan through and through. Bring him to Houston. And I think that then gives you some opportunities of, hey, we can get rid of Cooks, because we kind of have the wide receiver of the future. I know a lot of people are saying, oh man, Quentin Johnson really hurting his draft stock in this national championship game. Let's not overreact to one game. First off, Georgia was the best team in the country for a reason. Number two, I think TCU kind of showed that I shouldn't say maybe shouldn't have been there. TCU had played well during the year. But I think TCU showed that, hey, we didn't win that semifinal game. Michigan lost it. Committee tried everything they could to get Michigan and Georgia in the same room. Jim Harbaugh shot himself in the foot. So I'm not going to overreact on one game from Quentin Johnson having a bad game against one of the best defenses that we've ever seen in college football when it comes to Kirby Smart and Georgia. I digress, though. We move on. The Jets at 13. I've got them going, right here. You need an offensive tackle. It's arguably your number one need at this point. You got Paris Johnson Jr. just sitting there. You've got the top player on the board is an offensive tackle. As I used to say back in the past, they're running this ticket up to the podium. I know they don't do that anymore, but they're running that ticket up to the podium. They're giving the offensive lineman, Paris Johnson Jr., you are a New York Jet. Then we get to New England, and New England's kind of interesting because you do have some key wide receivers that are free agents, one of which is Jacoby Myers. You also have Jordan Addison sitting right there, top prospect on the board for me. However, you do also have it to where, offensive tackle would have been perfect here. However, you miss out on those. You're reaching if you go for a Broderick Jones. Wide receiver, like I said, free agents. You got Addison right there. But cornerback is also a big need. I feel like I like the depth right now for wide. I feel like free agency, you can tackle wide receiver. I got to see what happens with Jacoby Myers before I say this is a wide receiver. That's why I got Christian Gonzalez going to the New England Patriots here, but I could easily see this being a wide receiver depending on how free agency goes. Then we've got the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. His future is up and in question. Oh my God, we're back in this storyline again. Until I hear he retires, until I hear he's out of Green Bay, I'm going to do all I can to get this man some GD help. And wide receivers, drafting another rookie wide receiver, some people might go, well, we had rookie wide receivers this year. You look how that happened. I think this pick is Addison, Michael Mayer. Make your pick, whichever one you want. This, for right now, I'm going tight end because, hey, we got some wide receivers. You could go Addison. This is one that you got to look into if you're the Packers. Just get Aaron Rodgers another weapon. I know also with the tight ends, Big Bob Tunyon's a free agent. Mercedes Lewis is a free agent. Does Mercedes come back? Do they bring back Big Bob Tunyon? They could be looking for a tight end. So that's why I got Michael Mayer here right now at 15 for the Green Bay Packers. Then we got the Commanders at 16. And when I come to them, this pick is basically between Cam Smith and Broderick Jones for me. Do you go with your cornerback help or do you go and tackle the offensive line? And the reason why I'm going with Broderick Jones is your quarterbacks next year. Carson Wentz, Sam Howell, and Taylor Heinicke if you bring them back, because Taylor Heinicke is a free agent. But right now, your starter could be Carson Wentz. He's fragile. He gets injured a lot. If he's going to be your starter, you're going to have to protect him. That's why I go with Broderick Jones. Let's get some offensive tackle help in there. Let's get some young blood in that offensive line. I'll deal with cornerback later. I'll look at that in free agency. Yet again, free agency is going to ultimately kind of dictate where these teams go because it's before the draft. But I'm going Broderick Jones here. Get Carson Wentz some help because, yeah, if he gets hit too much, he's going to get injured because that's what happens. Pittsburgh, I'm sorry, you won too many games here at 17. I couldn't get you Joey Porter like I did last time. But when it comes to the Steelers here at 17, Cam Smith's on the board. Like, offensive tackle would be perfect. You need offensive tackle. Getting Kenny Pickett some protection would be nice. Basically, whatever the Commanders don't go with, you're getting what they did not pick. If they go Cam Smith, you're going to go ahead and take Broderick Jones. If they take Broderick Jones like here, you're going to go ahead and take Cam Smith. Get some help in that cornerback room. The notes that I have here for the Steelers, basically, Cam Smith or Broderick Jones, those are the choices. I'm choosing to, that was the Commanders. I'm sorry. Basically, cornerback's your biggest need. That's it. Cornerback's the biggest need. If the Commanders choose to go defense, you go ahead and protect Kenny Pickett. That's basically it in a nutshell. Then we get the Lions at 18. Lions, do not worry. I am not going to throw you a curveball. I'm not going to say, ha, 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 Anthony Richardson, you thought I wasn't going to give you a quarterback. Here you go. No, you're not going to get a quarterback. I'm not going to do that to you. But you get Myles Murphy with the 6th overall pick. This one, okay, let's be honest here. Wide receivers have been falling. Jordan Addison is probably not going to last to 18. And I like Jackson Smith Njigba. His injury is going to tell all. During the combine is going to be very important to him. How are you progressing with that injury that you had? That's going to be key for him. I don't think Jordan Addison, though, makes it to 18. If he's falling to this point, some team's going to trade ahead. But I look at the Lions and I go, if he is here, let's go ahead and, you know what? We did well with Goff. Let's get Goff a weapon. Let's get him more. We already have St. Brown, who did amazingly this year. Jamal Williams did awesome, breaking Barry Sanders' team touchdown record. Let's get another weapon for Goff to throw to. Another wide receiver that, to me, athletic and can make some deep plays. You don't just have to rely on Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, to me, that would be a steal. A steal for the Lions if Addison fell all the way to 18 for them. Then we get to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'll be honest, when we get to this range, there's a lot of these teams that I think are either going to be trading up or trading out. More so on the trading out part, because when we get into this area, I'm noticing a lot of the needs that are had, teams are going to have to, it's going to depend on what their boards look like, but a lot of teams are probably going to be saying, hey, unless we really love a guy, there's not a lot of players here that are going to fit our needs. So let's trade out. Let's get some draft capital. And for the Bucs, they're going to have to decide something real quick. And that's the future of Tom Brady. Is Tom Brady gone? All sources that you see, all speculate. I shouldn't say sources. I should say all speculation that you see is that Tom Brady's gone. Everyone's penciling him into either Miami or the Raiders. He's going to go somewhere. Hell, maybe they do a sign and trade situation. I know you don't really see that in the NFL. It's more an NBA thing where, hey, we're going to re-sign Tom Brady, then we'll trade him to the Raiders so that we can get Derek Carr, you get Tom Brady. But the big question is here with Tampa Bay, they got to figure out their quarterback situation. And I know that they have Kyle Trask, who they drafted last year. Like I said, if they really like Anthony Richardson, they could draft Richardson. Like I said, I don't know if I would take Richardson in the first round unless I was a team that's like, hey, I got nothing to lose. But I don't think that I don't think the Bucks have that luxury. And like they could go defense, but for me, I'm looking at this going, hey, my wide receivers, I'm going to have to figure out what I got to do with them in the future. I'm going to go ahead and take Smith and Jigba. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I know he's got an injury that he's dealing with. Hopefully, yet again, hopefully all that's going well so he can get drafted in the first round. But yeah, for the Bucks, it's going to be interesting to see what they actually do come draft time. Then we have the Seahawks here, and I got them going with the prospect that a lot of people are kind of torn on, and that's O'Cyrus Torrence. So I got them going offensive line here. My notes that I have written down, many are divided on Torrence, but right here is BPA. Yet again, this could change when I get to the third. This is probably the first one that I looked at, and I was like, hey, I would trade out of this pick. Like, I know there's a couple mock drafts that have had Trenton Simpson here. I'm going to talk about him later. Torrance would be a need. They do need interior line help, but there's a lot of people that are like, some people think that, oh, he's a top 15 pick. Some people think that he's right here, like, oh, 20s to 30s. And then there's some people that say, oh, well, if he gets to the end of the first round, he's lucky because he's a second round pick. That's everything I've seen on O'Cyrus Torrence thus far. It just depends on how you personally feel about him. But yeah, this pick will be better when we could actually do trades, because I think this would be a trade out situation for Seattle. Then you got the Jaguars. Jacksonville, I'm going to say you got kind of lucky. And actually, I'm going to say here, I don't think they have. Ooh, what? That is so low. That is so low. Why do they have Booty so low? That's an underrate in my opinion. So I was going to say, I think Jacksonville gets lucky here because now I know Jacksonville Jaguar fans, you're really excited for making the playoffs. Any team should, whether you're going to win the Super Bowl or not. But with how bad that division is, look at the Titans. You went from possibly getting a 11th overall pick to being 21st in the draft. And I know, playoffs, you'd rather be in the playoffs. You'd rather get the AFC South crown. But at 11, you could have taken Jordan Addison. You could have taken, like at that point, Quentin Johnson was still on my board. So you could have got the top wide receiver in the class. You are lucky, in my opinion, that Booty decided after the bowl game to take back, because if you're unsure, Booty was one where he's like, I'm going to come back for my senior season. Then 3 weeks later, after the bowl game, said, nope, I'm declaring for the draft. So you get lucky here that he's even in this range, because I think 50 on their big board is criminally underrated, I think, for this kid. I think he's really good. I think he's going to be a bottom of the first round guy. And I think Jacksonville gets lucky to be able to get a wide receiver like him at 21. Arguably their biggest need, being wide receiver, especially Marvin Jones being a free agent. Then at 20, so 22 is vacated. Dolphins, bye-bye, don't have your pick. So we make our way to the Giants. This one's easy. I know that they have wide receivers, the top need. I don't think it is. To me, cornerback is your top need. You got Clark Phillips III sitting there. Bada bing, bada boom, you take it. This is another how you doing, keep removing kind of things. Oh, he's there? Clark Phillips III? Okay, cool. We'll take him. Top need. We got that. Bada bing, bada boom. Didn't have to reach or overdraft for it. Then you got the Ravens, kind of a similar situation. Hey, okay, not exactly the same situation. Cornerback is one of their top needs. The Ravens are going to have to decide on one thing. Are they going to draft Bijan Robinson here, or are they going to go with a cornerback? Because looking at their running backs, right now they got J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are the only ones under contract, and they're both only under contract for next year. J.K. Dobbins has an injury history. Gus Edwards, I do not think, gets re-signed at the end of next season. So if they like Bijan Robinson, they can go ahead saying they could go ahead, if I could speak English, and say, hey, let's take Bijan Robinson. Let's solidify the running back, because right now it's kind of like J.K. Dobbins is our starter, but what if he gets injured again? We do need a number 2 back behind him. And obviously, J.K. Dobbins and Bijan Robinson are different backs to where they could be compatible, kind of like how you see in Dallas with uh, Zeke and Pollard, though, are also strong runners. I would say more like when you had Alvin Kamara and or like Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, or like when the Eagles had what was it, Ryan Matthews and CJ Sproles? Was it Ryan Matthews? Eagle fans, help me out there, but they got to decide what to do with that running back position. As of right now, though, I'm going cornerback. I'm going Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois. Got to go with my Illinois boy here. But yeah, they're a team that I think could get running back. And I'm going to talk about Bijan Robinson in a second, because I think that the team that really wants him might have to trade up for him. But the next pick, Chargers, another team that I think gets lucky by having Anton Harrison here. Like, offensive tackle to me is your biggest need. He falls. He could have been drafted a lot early, but because Booty, like, originally he would have been drafted by, like, I want to say the Jaguars, but because Booty came back, you get to move him up. Harrison moves down. I think the Chargers get lucky that they're able to get an offensive tackle, because if there's none here, that's another team that I'm like, oh, trade out of the first round because you don't want to reach. Get some draft capital. There's somebody that'll be wanting to trade up for something that's here. Then you get to the Cowboys. This pick is easy. If Bijan Robinson's there, I think he's the guy. He's the guy that Dallas wants. Texas running back, Texas team. They've already met with him from reports. Tony Pollard is a free agent. I just think that they might have to trade above the Ravens to get him when we get to the draft, because I think the Ravens could snipe Bijan Robinson from the Cowboys. That's the big thing. If the Ravens don't go with him, then he goes to Dallas. Otherwise, Bijan could be wearing Ravens purple instead of Dallas blue. Then we get to Cincinnati, and when it comes to the Bengals, this is one that's your biggest need isn't this. I got him going with Brian Branch. Your biggest need isn't safety. This is another team that would be a trade out situation. They would be this would be, I'm calling teams that want to need a quarterback. Hey, do you like Anthony? By this time, you kind of know the rumors, and I'd be calling teams that have been rumored to like Anthony Richardson. Hey man, I can get you your guy. I can get you your quarterback here. That's who I'd be calling, because Brian Branch is the BPA here, but it's not a top need for the Bengals. So that's why for me it'd be a trade out at this situation. Then when you get Minnesota, like I said last time, any defensive player will do. I have them going with Trenton Simpson. And here's my thing with Trenton Simpson. I still have to do a headfirst dive into his tape like I'm going to do with all of these first round prospects. The thing with him, though, is because he's a star linebacker, and maybe I'm overthinking this too much, but for me, because he's a star linebacker, there's a lot of the teams that need linebacker help that I was looking at this part. A lot of them don't run 4-3s, which is obviously the scheme that really is where star linebackers kind of shine, being that that linebacker safety hybrid. Obviously, if a team loves him and thinks they can make it work, they can fit in. But right now, I don't see where he fits with any team. With Minnesota, I think with them, hey, any defensive player, and we're just going to try to even if it's a square peg into a round hole, we're going to hope it's more like Play-Doh, and he then forms to that round hole. But yeah, Trenton Simpson's a guy I'm going to have to do a lot of work on this draft season, because I don't know where his fit is in mid-January as we're in this draft process. At 29, 29 because of the vacated pick. You've got the Broncos. Yet again, edge rusher is their top need. I just got Isaiah Foskey. Hey, it's at this point it's simple. Who's the top edge rusher? Now I know the database has Nolan Smith there. I actually like Foskey a little more right now. That could change as the process goes on and the more film I watch. But right now I got Foskey to the Denver Broncos. Then we get the Bills. And the Bills, it comes down to two things. What are you going to do with Devin Singletary? If Devin Singletary does not come back to this team, then Jahmyr Gibbs is the pick, the running back out of Alabama. If Singletary's coming back, then I go with the pick that I'm making here, and that's Antonio Johnson. But it solely comes off of what's happening with Singletary. If they need a running back here, Gibbs is going to be the guy. If they don't need a running back here, Johnson's going to be the guy. They need a safety. They need safety help. They'll need a running back. It's just going to depend on what free agency holds for the Bills. Chiefs to me is an easy situation. Like Chiefs fans, I know you're probably not like, oh, holding on bait and switch for this pick. That's not even the right term. You guys know what I mean though. But you guys are focused on bigger things like Lombardi trophies. But I just think just take the best edge rusher. Whoever the best edge rusher on your board is right now. So for me, at this point, it's Nolan Smith. Boom. Easy. Okay, best edge rusher. Keep it moving. Then we get to the Eagles at 31. And this is the one where I go with Jahmyr Gibbs. The reason being is both of their running backs right now, you got Sanders and Scott are UFAs. They're probably going to, in my mind, they're probably going to bring Sanders back. Scott's probably going to be gone. In that case, you're taking Gibbs here. You get Sanders back, you get Gibbs. That to me is probably how it's going to go. But if Gibbs isn't here, let's say the Bills take him, your BPA pick would probably be a Antonio Johnson. You also have BJ Ojolari there, but if Gibbs isn't there, you either take Johnson or you trade out of the first round. There could be a team that, yet again, Anthony Richardson could be a Lamar Jackson type of situation where we get to 32 and it's like, oh, okay, no one's taking him. Let me trade up to that spot to try to get him so that I can get that extra year on him. So before I end this video, let's go ahead and kind of recap everything that I had going on. So with these picks, number one, I had the Bears going with Will Anderson out of Alabama. I had the Texans going with Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle out of Georgia. I had the Cardinals go with Tyree Wilson, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech. I had the Colts go with Bryce Young, quarterback out of Alabama. The Seahawks via the Broncos going with C.J. Stroud, quarterback out of Ohio State. Had the Lions at 6 via the Rams going with Miles Murphy, edge rusher out of Clemson. Had the Raiders at 7 going with Brian Breeze, D lineman out of Clemson. The Falcons at number 8 going with Kaylee Ringo, cornerback out of Georgia. Had the Panthers at 9 going with Will Levis out of Kentucky. Eagles via the Saints at 10 going with Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State. Then I had the Titans at 11 going with Peter Skoronsky, offensive tackle out of Northwestern. I had the Texans at 12 via the Browns going with Quentin Johnson, the wide receiver out of TCU. Then had the Jets at 13 going with Paris Johnson Jr., offensive tackle out of the Ohio State University. The Patriots at 14 going with Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon. The Packers at 15 going with Michael Mayer, the tight end out of Notre Dame. The Commanders at 16 going with Broderick Jones, offensive tackle out of Georgia. The Steelers at 17 going with Cam Smith, the cornerback out of South Carolina, the Swag Nation in Beamer Ball. Then you had the Lions at 18. I had them going with Jordan Addison, wide receiver out of USC. The Bucks at 19 going with Jackson Smith Njigba, wide receiver out of the Ohio State. The Seahawks at 20, going with Osiris Torrance, interior offensive lineman from the Florida Gators. Then I had Kayshon Boutte, the wide receiver out of LSU, going to the Jaguars at 21. Dolphins vacated pick. They don't get anyone. Clark Phillips III going to the Giants at 23, the cornerback out of Utah. The Ravens at 24 going Devon Witherspoon, the cornerback out of Illinois. The Chargers at 25 going with Anton Harrison, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. The Cowboys at 26 going with Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas. The Bengals at 27 going with Brian Branch, the safety out of Alabama. Vikings at 28 going with Trenton Simpson, the linebacker out of Clemson. The Broncos via the Niners at 29 going with Isaiah Foskey, the edge rusher out of Notre Dame. Then I had the Bills at 30 going with Antonio Johnson, the safety out of Texas A&M. And to round everything out, at 31, the Chiefs going with Nolan Smith, edge rusher out of Georgia. And the Eagles at 32, ending our first round. The Eagles go with Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back out of Alabama. But that's going to do it for my mock draft 2.0. Sorry for the jump cut here at the end. I don't think it happened. Might have happened during when we were showing the picks, but my camera decided to get out of focus, so I wanted to fix that, make sure that I'm in focus for the end. But let me know what you guys think down below. Disagree, agree with the picks that I have for your team. I love hearing what you guys have to say in that comment section. Remember, if you like the video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you love it, hit that subscribe button. If you want to stay notified, ring the bell. Ring the bell, stay notified with everything we got going on here at MVP. I want to thank you guys for checking it out. Remember, if you want to get these the week earlier before they come out, become a member. Plus members get content a week early before everyone else, but we do have a basic membership as well. You can check that down below in the description or on our YouTube page. I want to thank you guys for everything, and I will see you guys for my 3.0.